Hello everyone, this is Thomas. This might be the first time you ever hear my voice, for real. So if you don't know what I sound like, this is my voice. But let's just say recently there's been some shit going on with an ex-friend of mine's. If you can't tell by the title of the video, basically I'm just gonna pull up this post I saw from him recently and it's just... Well, I'll just read it to you. Recently, people have been spreading very false rumors about me, so because of this, I'm taking a brief hiatus. I will tell you all to not believe in these rumors as they aren't true, because I don't remember saying a certain thing or doing a certain thing, for example. It's something like that. I'll also private my most recent videos, and I'll make them public again in a few weeks. So, what's wrong with that, you ask? Well, the so-called false rumors aren't false at all. They are actually true, and you're wondering, what rumors exactly? Well, I'm making this video simply as a response to this post. Not just a response to the post, but basically just me sharing my experiences with this person, what he's done to me. In general, he just really mentally fucked me up, pardon my French, and he's done so much wrong. So basically, throughout this video, I'm just going to explain, what he's done, why I think it's wrong, that kind of thing. So why don't we get started on that? Okay, so I made this whole list of at least 30 things he did to me. Some are repetitive, but we'll just go through the list right now. So, first things first, we're going to address the elephant in the room. He has confessed that he humps a pillow and masturbates to videos and pictures of fictional and real babies and children. In parentheses, pedophilia, because, well, I mean, people have their kinks and their desires. I'm not gonna judge, but if it's about children, yeah, that's wrong. As a matter of fact, he actually confessed this to me back in March 2022. I think it was March 23rd or 24th or something. I don't remember the exact date, but he literally confessed to me that he would hump a pillow, and he called this, quote unquote, doing the thing. Whenever we'd roleplay and we'd talk about, babies and children. I mean, he said to me that he claims he doesn't have a sexual interest, but the fact that he's performing sexual activities when thinking about children is wrong. He's basically what's called a coomer, basically a pedophile who does sexual activity not with children, but while thinking about children. He has thoughts of children while doing sexual activities, and they're just, the main focus while he's doing the activities. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to think about children while doing these things, you're definitely a pedophile. And the fact that he sometimes masturbates to it is worse. If you masturbate to children and babies, yeah, you're a pedophile. I'm sorry, but you're a pedo, and pedos deserve jail time. Call it dark all you want, but pedos deserve punishment. That's all I'm gonna say at this point. Number 2. Forced her to watch videos she wasn't interested in. So in case you're wondering, she, her pronouns are used in this, and it's in third person, because I was she, her. I used she, her pronouns at the time this happened. So this is before I decided to drop the she, her, and stick with he, him, they, them. But anyways, yeah, he'd force me to watch videos about monster trucks and trains. But he would also force me to watch videos of babies. But we'll get to that part later. So yeah, he'd force me to watch videos of monster trucks and trains mainly because he was sharing his special interest with me. I mean, it was fine at first, but then it got really bad. So one time over the summer, I was working at a neighbor's house, and he texted me and asked me to watch all my YouTube videos, lol. Honestly, that hurt me so much, and I was so frustrated, I was so mad. He even forced me to watch Battle for Dream Island and BFB as well, even though I'm not interested in object shows. I mean, I've seen them, they're okay I guess, but they're not my favorites. I just have no interest in those kinds of shows, so basically he was forcing his interests onto me and I just frickin' hated it. Okay, next point. Number 3. Forced and requested her to draw pictures of characters as babies, and he would hump the pillow and masturbate to them. So basically that's been going on since December 2021. That's when he started requesting me to draw stuff for him, and I eventually became tired of requests because I wanted to spend more time with my family for the holidays and, help out around the house. I mean, I'm literally an adult, not a child. I'm not a kid anymore. I can't be spending all my time, on the phone all the time. And he basically just became very frustrated at my refusal for requests, and he had asked several other artists on Twitter if they also did free art, but surprise, surprise, none would do so. So he basically just expressed his frustration at artists who mostly do commissions for other people. So it's not just free art, but there are a lot of artists on Twitter or social media in general who do commissions for people. I mean, it's not free, you gotta pay for that stuff. He forced me to just basically draw his OCs as babies, or his OCs taking care of babies and them doing weird stuff. And because, it's babies and children, again, there'd be humping and masturbating going on from him. So at this point, this seems like a very strong word to use, and this may not even be the proper word to use, but I was basically groomed into making these drawings for him so I could fulfill his desires. I regret ever doing this to begin with, honestly. I just feel awful, because I had no idea he'd be like that until he told me in March. Like I said in bullet point 1. Honestly, if you're gonna be asking people to draw stuff for you, and if they find out it's related to a fetish or something like that, I mean, they have the right to refuse, and you can't just force them to do shit for you. I'm being honest here. I regret ever doing all of that for him. I regret all of it because, like I said, I was groomed, and it just really hurt, honestly. 4. Forced her to do voice impressions of babies and children, and he would hump the pillow and masturbate to them. Again, another little trigger for doing the thing. Voice impressions. I mean, yeah, I like doing voice impressions sometimes. I think it's fun. But I was asked to do a lot of them relating to his OCs as babies, his OCs themselves, their parents, basically relating to roleplay we did, but that's in the next bullet point. He would often ask me to make baby noises, and I would talk like a baby for him. It was just so frickin' tiring, exhausting, and just so frickin' annoying. He'd ask me to do like 3 a day while he was in school, and it was just so frustrating. Again, I regret doing all of it, and I wish I hadn't made the choice to do it. If I could go back in time and stop myself, I would. Next one, number 5. Forced her into roleplay as their OCs that talked about babies and children's feet, thumbs and thumb sucking, and behaviors a toddler would most likely exhibit. 95% of the characters in question are minors, and some not safe for work topics were mentioned by Yellow Dawgy in said roleplay. Red was not okay with talking about these things. Alright, this is a big one. So the roleplay started, I think, in 2022. I just don't remember the exact date. Probably March 2022 or something. It was somewhere around that time. So we would just roleplay as our OCs, and things were fine. Everything was normal. But then it was just baby thing after baby thing, and oh my goodness, Lord. It was just so stressful. Basically, it's not just roleplay as the OCs communicating with each other and being friends and all that, but some of them involve characters being turned into babies. Big babies, like giant babies in the middle of the street or something like that, and it was just weird. I mean, when I say weird, I mean uncomfortable weird. Like I said, I'm a young adult, and this person in question is not even an adult yet, like almost an adult. And honestly, it's just odd for a teenager to have this kind of obsession. I'm not trying to judge or anything, but it's just an odd interest. So it's not just baby feet and thumb sucking, but also wearing pacifiers, specifically funny passies. Making pacifiers talk is another thing that was just weird. Also, floating in bubbles became another freaking fetish he has. Well, again, it was nice at first. I thought it was innocent. Then when the masturbation still kept going, I just found out it was very weird. It was very uncomfortable, and it was just... Listen, I've said this already, and I'll say it again. I regret doing the roleplay. I regret it entirely. It became something I was used to, which then led to me being fucked up, mentally and emotionally. Also in the roleplay, his OCs would take it out on my characters, and things wouldn't be fair between us and our OCs. Things would get bossy, and he'd force me to say things I didn't want to. It was just a very controlling roleplay that was just baby thing after baby thing, and it just got so annoying, frustrating, and weird. It's not just normal roleplay. Mind you, nothing sexual happened in the roleplay. However, there were some moments where not safe for work topics were brought up by Yellow Dawgy. For example, he would talk about his minors' characters whipping out their privates or watching pornographic content. Tell me how that's not pedophilia in the slightest. Minors should never endorse or be involved in not safe for work content in any way, shape, or form. I don't care at this point. The whole roleplay shit we did was bull crap. I hate how stupid it was, and this is why I don't even roleplay anymore. Number 6. During said roleplay, Yellow would again hump his pillow and masturbate to children and their feet and thumbs, as well as having them wear pacifiers and floating in bubbles. I've explained this already, but I will say this again. These are very specific fetishes, and I feel like crap for having them forced on me like this. It's absolutely disgusting. Again, I thought it was innocent until he started mentioning humping his pillow and masturbating to it. That's when it got creepy, and I knew it was wrong. This next one's really bad. Number 7. He would also hump and masturbate when thinking about babies and children he saw in real life. Yup, this is indeed true. Often he'd talk about babies and young children he saw in real life, and later on, he would hump and masturbate while thinking about them. Honestly, this is getting repetitive, but the fact that he does this when thinking about real children and babies is concerning. This is absolutely disgusting. What the absolute fuck is going on in your head, Yellow? You realize this is indeed a form of pedophilia. Try explaining how it isn't. Number 8. Forced her to run an out-of-context Twitter account she actually had no control over. This one hurt me as well. He made an out-of-context 90s games Twitter account and forced me to be a co-owner of the account. He told me to never make an alt account and that the out-of-context account was our alt account for both of us. The fact that he wanted me to take part in it to begin with kind of pissed me off. He just forced me into it and I wanted no part in it. He didn't want me to make my own out-of-context account because of this. I also requested a clip from Mortal Kombat to use for the account, but he didn't credit me at all. That pissed me off too. 9. Told her to only live life as he wants her to. No buying expensive things, no going on vacations alone, no professional portfolios, no career in the arts, etc. God, this one drove me insane. Listen, I'm currently in an arts program at school, and I'm required to make a professional portfolio of my work and make a name for myself. I can't have a freaking minor tell me what the fuck to do with my life. He kept telling me shit like, we won't buy any new game consoles or animation cells ever in our lives, and things like that. Never tell anyone what the fuck to buy and not buy with their money. That's selfish, and you were being jealous, and I could tell you were spoiled beyond belief. The fact that your parents didn't know you were doing this is beyond me. If I did that shit, my parents would punish me and take away my internet privileges. 10. Asked her to help him install computer games, only to have her delete said games from her computer if they didn't work for him, so she won't be able to play it. Alright, this is another example of Yellow being bossy as fuck. He'd ask me to help him, and whenever anything went wrong, he'd have the audacity to yell at me and treat me like crap. He'd throw a fit like a 5-year-old. I can't believe I'm saying this, but he acts kind of like Caillou in a sense, if you know how bratty he is. So yeah, he'd ask me to delete that game now if it didn't work for him, so I couldn't enjoy the game anyway. Jeez. First time he did that, he scared me to death. And mind you, I was on vacation with my family at the time, and we were just about to leave to go back home. I didn't need anyone telling me what to do and being bossy while I'm on vacation. He did this to me a few more times, and I was super frustrated. 11. When she told him about a concert she was going to, he figured out the exact location of where she was going without her telling him. Stalker behavior. Okay, so back in August, I mentioned to him that I was going to a concert in November. He asked where it was, so I told him the city he was in, and I'm not gonna specify. He then decided to look up the exact arena or stadium the concert was at. He told me what he found out, and I was scared to death. This is why I don't ask about locations of concerts. Typically, I only ask who is performing. That's all I care about. Locations don't matter to me because I don't want to be seen as a creep or a stalker. 12. Got jealous about her being off from school at different times and wanted her to graduate at the same time he did. This is completely stupid and unnecessary coming from him. He's literally 5 whole years younger than me. Of course we're gonna graduate different times. If we all went to the same school and did all the same things, life would be very boring, trust me. Also, he asked me where I was going and what I was doing during my spring break. He was still in school at the time. And when I told him, he got upset and told me never to go to those places I mentioned. Well, guess what? I went anyway because fuck those stupid rules he set for me. He found out eventually and was disappointed. I was pissed with him for doing this to me. 13. Never let her off the phone until bedtime and constantly texted her on WhatsApp, Twitter, and Newgrounds. He also forced her to use certain platforms only at certain times. Okay, this requires some explanation. Back in March, after I first cut him off and was then forced to return, he then told me that he had a temper tantrum at school about that whole thing, which led to law enforcement being called and he had to be restrained. That was when he began to tell me what platforms to use at what time so his parents wouldn't catch him talking to me. This was completely fucked up and I couldn't be left alone. He'd be impatient with me about switching platforms and would worry if I don't text him on a certain platform right away. That pisses me off because I do not like being rushed to do things. He's done this to me so much that it drove me literally insane, and even I grew impatient with myself. Why can't you be patient, Yellow? You realize that if you're not patient with people, they can find you to be pretty annoying? Yeah, that's what I done thought. 14. Forced her to wake up and go to bed at the same time he did, throwing off her schedule, and never allowed her time to live her life outside of social media and her phone, which made her frustrated. Yeah, this one's kind of self-explanatory, but I will say one of my teachers caught me on my phone talking to him once, and I was worried. I then just stayed off the phone for the remainder of the class, and I told him my teacher caught me. He apologized, but I knew he would keep pulling the same crap. He knew I was in class then, and he still had the audacity to text me, even though I was busy at the time and I didn't wish to talk to him at the moment because of schoolwork. My parents once asked what I was doing, and every time I spoke to him on the phone via text, I had to keep the screen away from my parents so they wouldn't see who I was texting. My grandma noticed once too, and I wasn't happy. He also would force me to watch his YouTube streams, which were inconveniently timed for me, so I was forced to put it on my phone while I was driving. Mind you, I didn't look at the screen while I was driving, I was playing the video in the background. And I once watched the stream while out to eat with my grandma. She noticed, and I got embarrassed. I hated all that, and I wasn't happy about it at all. He'd also ask about why I wouldn't be talking in the live chat on his streams, or why I left WhatsApp for a few seconds. That pissed me off, and it's complete stalker behavior. 15. Asked her to watch videos of in real life babies and children with pacifiers and feet and describe what happened. Yellow humped and masturbated to that too. This was also very annoying and he wouldn't stop asking me about it. He'd force me to watch videos of babies and children catching pacifiers falling from their feet into their mouths, or videos of kids saying bye-bye to their pacifiers as they're tied to balloons. I asked him once why he wouldn't watch them, and it's because he was scared to, if I remember correctly. I then would watch the videos, send screenshots, and describe what happened in the video. He would then do the thing again and apologize to me. I once asked him why he wouldn't stop doing that, and he said it's a habit he's had since he was young. Okay, so this habit is getting out of hand at his age at this point. I remember asking why he do that when thinking about babies and children, and from what I remember him telling me, he said, and I quote, "I'm such a pedophile." I then made the very wrong choice to reply with something like, "You're not a pedophile, don't worry." I was dumb then, and I should have kept asking him to quit it. You know what, in fact, I should have just cut him off right when I heard about the humping to begin with. 16. Asked about how much money she had she was uncomfortable with answering. One time, Yellow found out via a Beavis and Butthead Discord server that I bought a Do America poster and a Do the Universe poster. He then asked me where I got them and asked for links. This is how he found my Etsy account, but we'll get to that part later. I sent the links over and he was surprised at how cheap it was. Kinda. He then asked how much money I had in my bank account. I hesitated to answer, and I remember specifically telling him that I did not want to answer the question. He then said something like, "You didn't answer my question," and it finally made me give in and tell him. I'm not saying exactly how much, but let's just say he got upset and jealous. That was when he told me never to buy anything super expensive in my life. I was pissed. 17. Constantly apologized for his bad behavior to Red, but then kept doing said actions. This especially applies to the pillow humping. He'd always say to me, "I did the thing again, sorry." I'd always reply with, "It's okay," and thought nothing of it at the time. I was wrong, I was stupid, and I should have known better. He'd also tell me about when he'd disrespect his teachers, parents, and brother, and that's when I found out that he's definitely spoiled and privileged. He would behave similar to how I did when I was, say, 9 years old at least. Every time he'd freak out or do something bad, he'd tell me. I honestly was surprised to hear about how he would behave like that. I feel that these are things he should have kept to himself and dealt with only with his parents. He'd say that my family is better than his and that his family sucked. I wouldn't say that's true. That doesn't matter. He just gets jealous so easily that it really frustrates me to no end. 18. Searched her real name on Google and stalked her online. His excuse? Just curious. Yeah, this is a big one. He asked me for my real name, that is my dead name, and he ended up Googling it to find my portfolio website and my LinkedIn page I had at the time. He told me to delete both of them since I wasn't using them anyway, and so he wouldn't be tempted to look up my real name again. Jeez Louise, you know where this is going. Again, stalker behavior and being an absolute creep. He told me he tried to find pictures of me from elementary school as well, and that really creeped me out. I don't understand why he'd do this other than to be creepy and weird. If he found my address or phone number or anything like that, then I would have been horrified. He didn't, but I feared he would have wanted to dox me at some point. 19. Called her weird when she expressed different opinions and interests. This one hurt me as well. Sometimes I would have different opinions than him. For example, I said that Sonic the Fighters was my favorite Sonic video game at the time. He said that was a weird choice for a Sonic game. It hurt because I find Sonic the Fighters to be highly underrated, and to have someone call me weird for an unpopular opinion is absolutely uncalled for. I would never say things like that to anyone, regardless of what they like and don't like. I could just say, "Oh, that's cool," or "I'm not interested in this, but it looks neat," or something like that. These are definitely more appropriate and polite responses than that jack shit he said to me. 20. Says not to be rude, but then makes rude comments to Red about her preferences. Self-explanatory. If you say, not to be rude, and then say rude things, you're definitely rude. He hurt me a lot by doing this, and he'd often say this when he'd recommend I don't do or say things he didn't want me to do and say. I had absolutely no freedom with him, and I was pissed. 21. In general, was forced to answer questions she was not okay with answering. He would ask me questions about where I am currently, how long I'll be away, what classes I'll be taking, etc. He would ask me very personal questions about what I did as a baby and what I looked like as a baby, for example. Then again, he asked me to never share photos or videos of that, although he fucking asked. Why ask about what I look like if you don't want to see pictures? That defeats the whole purpose, and it's just creepy. 22. Traced her art without her knowledge. When she eventually found out, she was pissed. He'd asked me what I'd been drawing, which isn't a bad thing, but wait until you hear this. He asked me to send him a drawing I made so he could make a similar one. He ended up tracing 99% of it, and I compared our drawings to make sure. It was indeed true, and I was disappointed in him. I was angry as well, and I even showed him proof that he traced. He apologized, but I honestly don't forgive people for tracing art and or stealing artwork without giving credit. Artists are hurt by this, and it's never okay to trace or steal others' work in any way, shape, or form. 23. Had his mom and family friend threaten legal action against her for simply calling him out on his actions. This one is awful. I was completely traumatized by this and scared for my life when I got the message. I will show the message here. As a friend of the family of this child and teacher against cyberbullying, I reported this post. This page talks about a 17-year-old disabled child. You are 21 years old. This child has attempted suicide due to this post. It's been reported to law enforcement. Now, law enforcement didn't contact me or my family at all, luckily, but this was stooping to a whole new low. Instead of actually getting help for your child, you decide to witch hunt the person he harassed just because she called him out? Nonsense. Not once did I encourage suicide. Not once did I ever ask him to kill himself. I had no intention of hurting him at all. He was the one who ended up ruining my life by acting spoiled and begging me to do crap for him. 24. Asked her to show him a link to watch Fritz the Cat and Ren and Stimpy Adult Party cartoon, uncensored, which aren't meant for minors to view. I was very uncomfortable with this, and I even told him I shouldn't be sharing that stuff with him. He insisted I show him anyway because of curiosity, and I didn't want him to feel bad. I admit, I regret ever doing that. He forced me to do it against my will. I was severely abused. 25. Threatened to kill himself if Red didn't come back to be his friend. This was when I finally cut him off for good, and then he ended up finding my new Discord account, and he stalked me across multiple Beavis and Butthead servers. I spoke to a friend of mine about this, and they kept banning him from their server. He would make multiple alternate Discord accounts just to try to get to me. He kept pinging me, although I blocked him. I saw through the blocked messages that he said everyone was worried about me, and that he thought about killing himself if I didn't be friends with him again. He did this in a public Beavis and Butthead server, and admins took care of him. He kept acting very immature, and he kept begging and begging for me to come back. I never responded to him for that whole time. He then took a hiatus from Discord and finally left me alone. 26. Stalked and harassed her on Discord, making multiple accounts to attempt to talk to her, and jumped across multiple Beavis and Butthead servers. I already explained this in the previous point, but this whole stalking and harassing situation really mentally fucked me up, and I was literally shaking and fearing for my life. No one, and I mean no one, deserves to be stalked across multiple servers for attention. 27. He expressed thoughts of drawing not safe for work art of his and Red's characters who are minors. Again, more pedophile thoughts and activities. I told him that those thoughts are disgusting, and that we should never make art like that. He agreed with me, but at the same time, the fact that he had thoughts of making not safe for work art of minors, or CP in general, is absolutely disgusting. Need I remind you, he's almost 18. I understand kids say stupid things sometimes, but this is not something that can be excused. CP is never okay in any way. 28. Forced her to make plans with him about how they spend their lives together. She was not okay with any of it. He would talk to me about where we'd live once we moved out of our parents' house and whether or not we would get married. And we also talked about what jobs we'd have. He said we shouldn't live too far away from our parents, never marry anyone, and have a normal job. What I mean by normal job is something like a grocery store cashier, a shoe store clerk, or something in retail, basically. Look, like I said, I want a career in the arts, and I seriously hope I get a career in the arts. I can't have a 17-year-old on the internet tell me what to do. It's up to me, my parents, and real friends to help me decide. 29. Mention the impossibility of meeting up in real life. Just mentioning the idea of meeting up in real life freaked her out. Just so you know, I get anxious very easily. So he would bring up this subject time and time again. This creeped me out so much, and I asked him again and again to stop talking about it. Of course he'd say sorry and all of that, but then he'd keep repeating said actions. Goes to show that he doesn't regret doing that at all, and he's not really sorry. 30. Threatened her to not tell anybody about what he was doing to her. Basically, he was holding me hostage. If someone did mean things to you and held you hostage and made you do things you didn't want to do, tell someone about it, even if they say not to. Trust me, it's better to be safe than sorry. He said this to me because he didn't want his parents to find out about me interacting with him. How selfish. 31. Told her never to watch Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe or the 2022 Beavis and Butthead series until he's ready to watch with her. They never saw it together. This one hurt me a lot. As a fan of Beavis and Butthead, I ended up waiting about a week or so before I watched Do the Universe myself on my phone. By the way, if you haven't seen Do the Universe, I recommend it. I may do a review on it someday, but that's besides the point. He wanted to watch it with me, and at the same time, it never happened. Same goes for the 2022 Beavis and Butthead series. I actually stayed up late that night to catch the premiere on YouTube. I loved it a lot, and I highly recommend it. Anyway, I never told him about all that, but the fact that he wanted me to wait was stupid and very controlling. 32. Told her to never consider doing art commissions or improve on her art style. He locked her in a fixed art style, and she never improved with him around. Again, more controlling behaviors. I was fixed in a childlike art style, and I never had chances to improve. Even if I did, he suggested I do it in a more simple style so we could draw the same stuff. This really hurt me, and I was trapped and feeling sorry for myself. I could never improve with him around, and I really wanted to cut him off. I didn't do it originally because after the first time, he kept me around, and I did all this just to make him happy. This is absolutely sickening. 33. Forced her to ask people to follow him on Twitter and also kept telling his YouTube subscribers to stop unsubscribing. People are allowed to follow and subscribe to whoever they want to. This one's rather self-explanatory, but I'll say this. Please stop begging people to follow you or subscribe to you. Let people make their own decisions on who they want to follow and subscribe to. If you keep begging people to not leave or stay subscribed, it sounds like you're literally bossy, so just please stop already. 34. After initially saying he won't contact Red again, he contacted her once more on Twitter under an alt account. She never knew he'd find her there. Okay, this one surprised me a lot. Listen, if you say you're not going to talk to someone again, you better keep your word and stop talking to that person. Just leave them the fuck alone, and there won't be any more problems. But no, you had to talk to me on Twitter one last time before you fully gave up. You weren't even genuine either. You just kept plowing on and saying the same shit over and over again to try to get me to believe you. Not once did it work. 35. Messaged her on Etsy without her permission when she cut him off. Account found through sending links to items she bought there. This really frightened me as well. I had no idea he texted me there until I decided to open the app and I saw the notification. He texted me and said things like, "I'm sorry about all this, everyone misses you. I miss you," that kind of thing. The "I miss you" message really creeped me out, and so I impulsively replied with, "What the fuck? Go fuck yourself, you fucking stalker and creep," or something like that. This was back when I went by my dead name on that old account, so it's scarier then. From that point forward, I decided not to use my dead name on my Etsy account and name myself something else just so I don't get harassed again or possibly doxxed. So, that was a lot to cover. Now I will show you exactly what I said on that TwitLonger post. Here it goes. It's time for me to make things clear. I made this account back in August so I can get away from an ex-friend of mine who is a complete psychopath. You may have known him as 90s Yellow Dawgy. He is now known as Studio Mellow 2000 on Discord and YouTube. Let me tell you what he has done to me behind the scenes, and why my old name is no more. This is my personal experience of me having him as a best friend. This all started in November 2021, when he and I became moots on Twitter when I was still my old name. He would talk to me a lot and nothing bad happened. Then came December and Christmas break. He would then ask me to do art requests of OCs as babies and such. He'd ask how it's going, and then at one point I wanted to stop requests. He got so frustrated with me, so he went around asking others if they did free art too, to no avail. He hates it when artists do commissions, and that makes me sad. He has continuously manipulated and abused me to no end, even when I asked him to stop. I told him I want to pursue some sort of career that has to do with drawing. He told me that I should only have a normal job. That crushed me. I wanted to change my art style earlier on, but he said, no. Again, I was crushed. That was when I temporarily blocked him on March 22nd. He would ask other followers and moots of mine to contact me and ask me to unblock him. One moot of mine made me reluctantly unblock him and be friends with him again. That's when things got worse. He would also ask me about personal information, such as how much money is in my bank account or how much money I have in general, what I looked like and did as a baby, and in personal home videos, where I'm going and for how long, and how old my parents are and when they were born. He'd also roleplay with me about his OCs, and often he'd talk about babies. Yes, he has an obsession and fetish with babies. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I have to. He told me that he actually would hump a pillow whenever we roleplay about babies' feet, pacifiers, and having them float in bubbles. Yes, he fetishizes that too and humps the pillow to that too. He would get worried every time we go on vacation because he gets easily jealous. He wouldn't want me to go out and have fun while he's in school. He literally told me I shouldn't wear a Care Bears shirt in public. He said never to buy anything expensive, animation cells, new game consoles, etc. in my life. He said I should never go out so late at night, even in safe areas. He forced me to go to bed and wake up at the same time he did. I had to wake up at 4:20 in the morning every weekday because of him for the last few weeks, and my sleep schedule was ruined. Also, he never wanted me to do art commissions. This is something I wish to do someday, and I will do it someday. I just have to get my new art style up and running first before I make such big decisions. He'd ask constantly about art requests too, and I did not like being asked too often. He would wish to talk to me every hour and every minute if possible, never leaving me alone. When we chatted on WhatsApp, he would get pissed every time I go offline because he could see when I was online or last seen. I've changed settings in this app so that no contact of mine can see this again. He would also ask me to help him set up emulators and games on his computer, and he'd be furious if it only worked for me and not him, which is what would sometimes happen. So to make things fair, I'd have to delete the game from my computer if it didn't work for him, so he won't be jealous. That also crushed me because I had wanted to make gameplay videos for my YouTube channel, but that never happened because of him. I also told him that I'd have to tell my parents about this if this sort of thing continued. He said never to tell my parents or it's game over. I never told them, no matter what happened. Last week, he really crossed the line. He had let me know previously when he'd voice chat with his friends on Discord, and then straight up said I would never do that. Later, when I had joined Beavis and Butthead Discord servers, still on my old account, I told him that I had been voice chatting. He asked what server, to which I was hesitant to answer. I reluctantly let him go into a Beavis and Butthead server I was once in. A few days ago, that was when I had had enough, and I straight up deleted everything regarding the old name, including my old Twitter, Google account, and Discord account. I've cut all contact with him too, with my phone number and on WhatsApp. Okay, here's where it gets really bad. I noticed that he had joined a B&B server I was in, and I asked the owner to ban him. I had to do that twice, to 2 different owners of 2 different B&B servers, and I had to explain to them why he's not a good person. He has also fabricated fake apologies to try to get me to come back, to which I still do not accept. He had been banned twice from a B&B server, once from his main, and again through an alternate account he made, which I then found out to be him through a voice chat. He made 4 different alternate accounts to get to me and a friend of mine on Discord, and he would not stop excessively paining me in one server in particular, and he even suicide baited for me to come back. He got in contact with another person in that server and tried to explain. This other person then asked me privately what was going on, so I explained to him too. He thankfully understood, and I had to help him get my psycho ex-friend off his tail before things got worse. He then joined another B&B server under a new alt and paid me and another person. He then joined the prior server and apologized, again not being genuine. None of us believed him. His alts are now inactive, and I hope that they're deleted soon. I will send screenshots of what happened on Discord in replies. Oh, by the way, the replies, I no longer have the screenshots, but I do remember what happened, so take my word for it. I found out earlier today that he had also messaged me on Etsy because I had sent him links to where I had bought B&B posters, and he ended up seeing my reviews, which then led him to finding my Etsy profile. I've since deleted that Etsy account and made a new one. He has also deactivated his Twitter, and here's what I've noted from it before deactivation. He has asked if anyone is willing to be a friend of his who can always chat with him and do free art requests from him. This is clearly a form of attention seeking, and he's just gonna do all the same things he did with me. Don't fall for it. He mentioned trying to dislike every tweet he has liked before and then giving up on it. Reason being is that he would go through my liked tweets and leave a like on those instead of forming his own opinions and liking whatever he wants to. Overall, I believe he is mentally sick in the head, and I've had enough of him. If anything, he should leave social media and do something else with his life. It's his choice, though. Here's what I want you guys to do. It's your choice, really, but I recommend that you cut off all contact you have with him, because I don't want him to do this to you, too. If you still have contact with him, please ask him if he has made any other alternate Discord accounts and ask him to 1. Leave every server he's in with said alternate accounts, and then 2. Delete every single alt he has, and then 3. Ask him to please leave the Beavis and Butthead servers alone. I do not wish to see him anymore, I swear to God. He has already caused enough trouble in those servers. Please, straight up tell him that he needs to get help, and that he needs to realize that this is over between the two of us. This means no more contacting me on any social media I have or have had. He just needs to pretend I no longer exist. With that said, thank you so much for reading this entire message, and I hope you all stay safe out there. That was the call out I made back in September after the Discord stalking happened. This was what was supposedly reported to law enforcement, but nothing came out of it. I've censored my old social media name because I don't associate with that name anymore. Yellow's mom apparently saw this, and she said something like, "This is his mother. I'm disgusted by this post. This is slander against my son. He has autism, and if you knew that, you'd understand that. Mental health awareness." Again, I too have autism. Pulling out and using the autism card like that is not gonna work. It's not an excuse to be harassing people online like that. people like him should be monitored more online instead of having his parents witch hunt the victim. Now, I will show you his response to the thread, and it's also quite pathetic. Here it goes. Man, I'm being real. I just can't believe about what I've done. I finally realized I've gone too far and I just can't do this anymore. I don't want to act like this to you ever again. I shouldn't control you like how I have for months. I don't want to ask for free requests or any of that no more, and I just want to have a good friend again. I'm not a psychopath either, but I do think this friendship has gone too far because of me. If anything, I just want to start over with you, and I'd want to chat whenever you have time. The whole pillow humping thing is something I regret too. I don't want to do it ever again after all this, and I mean it this time. My deepest apologies to everyone. Well, who exactly do you mean by everyone? Literally, that account had and still has 0 followers. Then a friend of mine stepped in, and they said this. Yeah, but you keep on messaging them over and over and over again using different accounts to talk to this person. I mean, if a person tells you they don't want to associate with you anymore, then that's that. A wise person once told me, let fate decide. If you can't let fate decide, then things will get problematic. Yellow then replied, I'm so sorry. Again, this is absolutely pathetic for an apology. I've mentioned before that he has apologized to me so many frickin' times for his wrongdoings and then kept doing them. You can clearly see why I don't accept this apology. Finally, I'm gonna respond to a video he recently made that mentions me. I'll have to pause it sometimes so I can give my 2 cents about what happened, debunk all this shit, and directly respond. Here we go.
Hello, GamerDawgy64 here. Wait, I don't know that name. Well, I changed my name because I just felt like it. After what happened. But what did happen? Well, on September 13th earlier this year, a good friend of mine, formerly known as Red Dog, I will not say what her current name now is.
Alright, first off, Red Dog. Yeah, that's still my OC, but I don't use that as my brand name anymore. Secondly, there's the misgendering. I'm letting it slide this time because, honestly, in this case, I don't care anymore if you call me by she, her. I know you're not necessarily transphobic, so I'm letting it slide this time.
I really do not want to use anything about her anymore.
So, if you didn't want to hear about me anymore, why did you join my server on January 4th, 2023? I have proof, and I'll show it here. As you can see, I banned him from my server. This can only happen if an individual actually joins the server, which is what happened recently. My friend pointed this out to me when it happened, and we were rightfully shocked. I don't know how you found my server, but this is legitimately creepy as fuck. I didn't invite you, nor did anyone else to my knowledge. This is absolutely unacceptable.
Randomly left me without any explanation or why. Later, I figured out it's because of issues I had in a relationship which I will not specify.
The relationship in question is, of course, this friendship Yellow and I had together. It wasn't really a friendship though because of all the shit I mentioned that he put me through, and it was just so frickin' annoying, and it was ruining my life.
After trying to get back with her, and her making a large statement and saying something very personal about me.
Okay. If you say it's personal information, then why the fuck did you even tell me in the first place? By the way, the information in question has been brought up several times in the video already, and I'm honestly beginning to sound like a broken record. It's the whole pillow humping situation involving babies and children. This is legitimately an act of pedophilia. I don't know how anyone can convince me otherwise. Performing any sexual act, even if you're only having thoughts of children, like that, is still messed up, no matter what, and you need serious help.
Which she deleted, I decided to move on completely. I just decided that was it for Twitter, and I really don't have any plans to go back to it, or I don't have any desire to it. A few days later, I announced my hiatus. I would not return to any form of social media, mainly Discord, for a few months until November 19th, 2022. Over my hiatus, my anxiety got so bad it made me run away.
Okay, here's the problem. You can't just run away from your problems. This is where counseling or therapy or even just talking to your doctor about the situation can help. Too bad your parents didn't have the courage to make the call or do some research about where to get help. They have obviously spoiled you to death, and it shows. If you don't straighten up and actually contribute to your family, you'll end up just like Chris Chan. As much as I hate making that comparison, I feel like I have to at this point because that's what I think it's starting to slowly become. Please, actually get therapy or even just talk to a counselor. It helps.
Which I was fine, but it caused a lot of stress and, everyone to get worried. Missed a lot of schoolwork and just screw me up in general. I am home, safe, and sound now, but that was all pure chaos.
Well, I ended up going through quite a bit of chaos too, and my life was rather fucked up too because of what you've done to me. You've completely screwed me up, and I've acted impulsively because of what you've placed on me. This is proof that actions speak louder than words, and you need to be careful about how you treat people. If you treat them like crap, chances are they'll also treat you like crap, or go on and treat others like crap. It's a vicious cycle that really must be broken, but alas, this is life, and life sucks. Just do better.
As of today, GamerGhost14 isn't my channel name. GamerDawgy64 is, though I thought GamerGhost14 would be my online nickname, since a lot of my old videos will still have that name. I also deleted some of my videos because my friend, formerly Red Dog, was involved in them.
Okay, with those, you could have removed the Red Dog contributions or simply changed the thumbnail to something else. There was no need to remove the videos themselves, but that's just me. If you delete videos simply because of poor view ratings or because of one person, that's rather petty of you, and you should consider archiving things. I mean, like I said, you could have just removed one part of the video or changed the thumbnail completely instead of deleting the video entirely.
I plan on a lot of content for the new year. I will do short plus videos, gaming live streams, and a lot more. I also plan to move on to Instagram, so there's that too. I will announce when I have made my account on that, and I'll announce newer projects and other stuff later on. I hope you all understand, and I will see you soon in a few weeks. Bye-bye!
Overall, this video had absolutely no mention of you getting or seeking proper help for what you've done, and you've completely covered up everything you did to me. This is why I made this video to begin with. Those false rumors you're talking about are actually all true, despite the original receipts being lost media. Just because the receipts are gone doesn't mean I don't remember what happened, and it also doesn't mean it didn't happen to begin with. It still happened. You literally admitted to me that you're a pedophile for doing these sexual acts when thinking about kids. So, yeah, everyone, I recommend you stay away from this person, and I say he should be kept away from all babies and small children. I fear that he may actually end up grooming children and placing his disgusting fetishes on them if he doesn't shape up and get the help he needs. At this point, I'm not trying to gaslight anyone, but I do believe he needs help. Yellow, if you just so happen to be watching this, here are my final words. Yellow, you've been nothing but trouble. You've been incredibly rude and disrespectful to not only me, but also to your teachers and parents. I suggest you make an apology video admitting to all of your actions, describing them in detail. In the meantime, please get therapy or counseling or something. You need to confess this to Christ. You can't hide from what you did, and if you don't get help, your behavior will get worse. Keep my name out of your mouth. You've done enough damage. If you've done this baby crap to other people, and they end up cutting you off, there's a good reason for it. This is legitimately creepy behavior, and it should never be tolerated. Keep away from small children and babies, and quit fetishizing them. Once a pedophile, always a pedophile. I yield my time. If anyone supports him after all this, I consider you pedophile and cyberbully apologists, and I recommend you do not interact with me. That is all I have to say. I apologize if I didn't say everything the way I wanted to. I often struggle with trying to explain things. And that'll do for this video. See you on the next one.